Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Emmanuel Probst, who's the author of the book Brand Hacks. Emmanuel, welcome to the program.
Mike, thank you for having me on the show. And
you're welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, I'm really excited to talk with you because I love talking about books and I love talking about marketing and branding, and the title intrigues me because the word brand hacks makes you think of, shortcuts. But I also would surmise that this is effective and professional shortcuts, not cutting corner shortcuts, because as a professor of consumer market research at UCLA, I know that you are going to be writing about things that are going to be taking out all of the fluff and get right to the point with how brands can, improve. So give us a little bit of your background, and then let's dive right into your new book, Brand Hacks.
Thank you. And you're right to say those are shortcuts, which doesn't mean cutting corners. And in short, I did all the hard work for you, our readers, our listeners today over the last 16 years, so that you can take those shortcuts, but not at the expense of quality, of course. My background is 16 plus years in working on understanding why do people do what they do. If I reflect on my career, whether it's in academia or with Ipsos or as a writer, that's what keeps me up at night in a good way. Why do people do what they do? So that is the expertise I built over time. And in short, what this means today, as you said, I teach consumer market research at UCLA. I'm a global lead for brand thought leadership at Ipsos, which, as our listeners likely know, is one of the largest, if not the largest, market research agency in the world. And I also write books, including but not limited to brand hacks.
I love it. And let's just dive right in. And what would you say that a brand hack is? What's the definition of a brand hack?
Yeah. Well, this book, Mike, is about taking a step back. Most marketing books are written from a marketer standpoint on how are we going to force feed more products and more advertising to our audience. Here in Brand Hacks, we take a step back and we say, well, wait a minute. People don't want more brands. People don't want more advertising. People don't want more social media because we're already overwhelmed with all of the above. So take a pause. And what do people want to achieve? Well, people are looking for meaning. They want to get involved in activities and things that are meaningful to them. From there, once we understand these meanings, we build brands that help fulfill these meanings. And of course, I'm sure we'll give examples in this conversation. A brand hack is exactly this, is now that you understand the meaning, you build a brand or you grow a brand that helps fulfill those meanings. And in that regard, you hack these meanings.
And hack meaning it makes me think of the phrase tip of the iceberg, or you became an overnight success after 30 years of experience. So the hack part comes in after all of the hard work is done, from researching your target audience to understanding what they need, understanding their problems, understanding how they respond to potential solutions. And then after all of that is done, and that's, could be months and months and years of research, and I would even suspect that research never ends. You're always iterating on that. But then at that point, you kind of have everything all in the forefront of your mind. Now you can go right into how do we make these hacks or these efficiencies.
Well, you said it right, Mike. You became an overnight success after 30 years of hard work. Yep. I really like that saying. Another analogy is when people ask, why does my plumber charge me $150 to fix my garbage disposal in 10 minutes? And the answer is because it took him 10 plus years to learn how to fix that garbage disposal in 10 minutes. So you got it. Brand hacks as in I spent the last 16 plus years on understanding these meanings, what people are trying to achieve, and bring this over to you, the reader, in 230 pages. And that's how in 2 hours or so, you can grasp those important meanings that people are trying to fulfill and build and grow your brand from there. Yes.
So give us an example. I'm sure in the book there are many examples and case studies, but what would one example be of a brand hack?
Yeah. So meanings are things that matter to us in contrast to the fad. So a fad is a diet. Yeah, nobody sticks with a diet for too long. A meaning is something that is a lot more profound. So let me give you some examples. We just spent a lot of time cooped up because of that damn pandemic, which we hope is almost over. I don't know.
we can think positively.
We can think positively. But a meaning we've been trying to fulfill here is joy and happiness and comfort and coziness. The point is, as we spend more time at home, we're trying to create a place where we feel safe, secure, and where we experience a sense of comfort. What this means is this influences the market in terms of outdoor furnishing, for example. This is important to the likes of IKEA. This is important to the likes of Wayfair, how people invest in their home. Let me give you maybe another example. The book is split in 3 sections: personal meaning, social meaning, cultural meaning. Personal meaning is what you do for yourself, meaning who am I and who do I want to become? A brand that does well here is Equinox Health Club. You may be familiar with their ads, and the taglines are commit to something or Equinox made me do it. And the point I'm making to you is Equinox is not selling you a treadmill or a bike. That's fine. You can have that at Planet Fitness for 10% of the cost of an Equinox membership. The point is, it's a transformative experience for the individual. By joining Equinox, I'm committing myself to becoming a better person. That's meaningful, and that's a brand hack right there.
Yes, it reminds me, I've said this for years, and I think I kind of came up with it myself, but I'm sure that it has applications. But it reminds me of when you're driving down the road and maybe there's a car in front of you, and you're going down a neighborhood, and you are always watching to make sure that you're driving safely, and you've got a safe distance between you and the car in front of you, but you tend to look through your windshield and through the windshield of the car in front of you so that you can tell what's coming up for them in case you need to be ready to slam on the brakes. So what I think that applies is when you're looking at the customer, you need to not be that order taker and say, you need X, here it is, thank you, have a nice day. You need to understand about the customer and know they don't just want that $10 a month Planet Fitness membership or that, treadmill for X number of dollars. They want to see themselves as that aspirational character that's drawing them and pulling them towards something. So now this commit to, and it's like, yeah, I can do that. And it's drawing them and pulling them in, not, oh, you need to get to the gym and crack the whip on yourself. So I think it's that almost like a 60,000 foot view of where you want to be and strive for. Am I thinking correctly that way?
I'm thinking that we've been talking for only 10 minutes, and it's the second excellent analogy, Mike, you come up with, what you said about driving.
Yeah, good. Thank you. You can take that and use that on your own.
I'm really loving your analogies. I think they're very clear and very powerful, and you've got it right there. I'll build on what you said. Think about Peloton. Peloton doesn't sell a stationary bike because you can buy a stationary bike for $200 at Costco. Yes. And a Peloton bike, I think I don't know how much it is, but it's at least $1,500, maybe $2,000. Peloton is social meaning. We spoke about personal meaning, social, cultural meanings. 3 types of meanings in the book. It's a social meaning whereby, of course, you're not keen on that stationary bike in and of itself. You're joining a community. You are buying into a membership of competing with fellow Peloton users. And that's where the value is. And what you said about the health club, 100% I agree with you. A treadmill is a functional item that has very little value in and of itself. A treadmill is a treadmill. And there are a few differences in my experience of going to gyms for the last 20 years between a treadmill at Planet Fitness and one that is at Equinox. But you're right. You want to project yourself as this individual who is successful, who becomes fit, or you might lose weight, or just more stamina, whatever fitness goal you're trying to achieve, or simply get your body moving. You don't have to run a marathon or lift 200 pounds. That's not at all the point. But you're right to say that the treadmill is a functional benefit. And who am I? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to become? It has to be a transformative experience.
You know, and one thing you mentioned earlier, this is another writer downer for some people, or an aha moment, is, you know, let's compare diet to, well, nobody wants to diet. And part of the, you know, the funny haha thing is, what's the first three letters in the word diet? Well, D-I-E. Nobody likes diet. They want, and the more safe way is a lifestyle, right? You might drop 10 pounds or gain 10 pounds if you want to gain weight. And if you do it too fast or too extreme, then it's going to, reverse. So you want a lifestyle. Now, here's an observation as you were mentioning this fitness example here. Let's take it to another step and go, okay, let's say that this brand, like you mentioned Peloton, they now have created this engagement with and built a community. And they have built that identification and engagement, right? Well, now let's imagine that there's another company out there that's going, wow, they are snapping up market share, and Peloton has come in this big, beast. How do we compete against that? And I know I'm not going to get it exactly right, but I saw recently, within the last week or two, some advertisement that had this little tagline in the commercial where it said something to the effect of, when you want to exercise, but no cults, no. And as soon as they said that, I was like, ooh, I wonder if that brand, and I don't remember who it is, but I wonder if that brand is kind of making a jab at, come on, the Peloton cult, don't join that. Just get our little whatever it is, and you can do it on your own. You don't need this. So what happens to brands when they get so successful that other brands now have to compete against that? And how do you then up the engagement and what that first brand has achieved?
Yeah. I feel they compete and they don't, because it appeals to a different audience, meaning not knowing what brand you're referring to. But anyway, that's a classic, if you will, of don't join the cult, or don't get into something that is judgmental. And that's what Planet Fitness does, but not non-judgment zone, I think they call it. But the point is, there is room on the market for Peloton, and there is room on the market for people who don't want to belong and want to exercise as a functional benefit. And of course, you have stigmas, and rightly so, associated with group exercise and Peloton and a lot of gyms, if you will. But here, we're going back to meaning. What's meaningful to you? Why do you exercise? Do you exercise to belong? Do you exercise to compete? Do you exercise to display to the world your Peloton shirt because you achieved a specific milestone, or you just exercise to get your stamina going? And that's a functional benefit. And if you want to do this, you buy a Nordic track at $300 at Costco, and there is nothing wrong with that. It's simply, as consumers, and that's where psychographics are so important, more so than what you can afford, more so than the money and the cost of a product, is what I mean here is, what is your level of engagement, and what is your goal when getting involved in a specific activity? Because if your goal is just to get your stamina going in the morning, and you want to cycle for 15 minutes before your coffee, that's fine. If your goal is to be transformed, be part of a group, and display your achievements, well, then you buy a Peloton. But ultimately, Peloton built its success with people moving out to the suburbs and in the upper middle class type of clientele, if you will. So I don't think they're losing sleep over any other company that offers a functional benefit. By the way, Peloton has not invented the stationary bike. They're from far the latest entrance to the market. And once again, Peloton does not compete on stationary bike, just like Apple does not compete on cell phone features or did not compete 15 years ago on an MP3 player. That's not it right there.
Yes, it's the widget is not the focus. It's the transformation that the widget can take you through. And I think that's the brilliance of what these brands are doing. So let's wrap up with this last question. In the book, you talk about psychographics and micro moments. How do those tie in together?
So important. Here's my view. Very few purchases are driven by income. The exceptions being your home and your car, and a few very large purchases, like a few very big diamond ring or things like this. For almost everything else, it's driven by who do you want to be, what are you trying to achieve? Let me take an example. A Frappuccino at Starbucks is what, $6.50, yeah? Some along those lines, maybe $6, $7, you name it. My point is, whether you're a student in your class or in my class and you make $8,000 a year income working on campus, or you make $80,000 at an advertising agency, or you make $800,000 as a C-level executive, in light of a $6 or $7 Frappuccino, this really doesn't matter. If you want that Frappuccino, you're going to indulge. My point is you're driven by who do I want to be, where do I want to belong, what's in my culture, what do I prioritize? I'll take another example. As you may guess from my accent by now, I'm French. People always ask me for wine recommendations. Yeah. Trust me, you'd come to my house. I don't know if I have even $200 worth of wine total in my house. Well, probably closer to 120. Why? Not because, and I don't mean to brag here, of course, but it's not because I cannot afford to buy wine. It's because I just don't care. I don't prioritize the product. Yeah. So that's why psychographics are so important. Your beliefs, arts, culture drive what brands you're going to affiliate with.
That micro, I think the way that you can draw that psychographic down into the micro influence is to find out what that one thing is. And you mentioned priority. I was reading I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book, Essentialism, and one of the first chapters talks about the derivative of the word priority originally meant the one and only thing, the one priority. And then we morphed into priorities, plural. Like, well, all of these are priority. Well, you can't have only one thing 10 times over. So what is that priority that your target market really values, and their one problem and the one way that you're going to transform them? Now you can start slicing out those micro, aspects of that, right?
100%. That's a good segue into addressing your second question, which of course I didn't mean to overlook on micro moments. And that's where the moment of need, the moment of truth, the moment of conviviality, that is when people are going to buy something, is paramount. Let's go back to the Starbucks analogy for a second. If I try to market coffee to you in the morning around 7, 8, 9 a.m., well, that's a great time to pitch an upgrade to you. For example, go for nitro cold brew instead of cold brew, right? If I try to push the exact same offering to you at 9 p.m., realistically, unless you work night shift, maybe you're a security guard, maybe you work in a hospital, maybe you work in a factory and you need a jolt of caffeine, it's just going to be very, very hard. And that shows, even from a price premium standpoint, that's how I can upsell that cold brew in the morning. Maybe, $4, maybe $5, maybe $5.50 if I'm in Los Angeles. That exact same cup of cold brew at 9 p.m. is not even worth $2 to me as a consumer. So it illustrates the power of moments, if you will.
It's when what is I'm sure I'll butcher this, but luck is when, or success is when preparation meets opportunity. So it's like the example with the cold brew in the Starbucks or the coffee or the jolts of caffeine. It would land 100% at a certain time in the morning if you were seeing that ad, but a certain time of the evening might not as much. And I've seen proximity marketing where these, maybe an ice cream shop will get you on their Wi-Fi, and then now they know your text, and now they can send out this proximity marketing blast where it says, anyone on our network, on our system, within 5 miles of our store on a 90-degree hot day, send them this text. And it'd be like, boy, isn't it hot? Come on in for a nice cold ice cream cone. And it's like, yes, but if it was, a cold day, it probably wouldn't land as much.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, you can be very different. And my two of my daughters go to college out in Wisconsin, and we were at this ice cream shop over the summer when we dropped them off, and they have this really big sign in there that says, when it is 20 below zero or worse, we will give you a free ice cream cone. So they're kind of making a fun thing, like, let's trudge through the cold to get an ice cream. But anyway, all that to say, Emmanuel, I just really have enjoyed our conversation here. What's the best way that people can reach out, connect with you, learn more about what you do, and pick up a copy of your book?
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Mike. So many ways to connect with me. First and foremost, you can find me on LinkedIn. No tricks. My name is Emmanuel Probst, EMMAN, as in Norman, UEL, Probst, P as in Peter, ROBST. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Also, you can find my book, Brand Hacks, How to Build Brands by Fulfilling the Consumer's Quest for Meaning. Of course, it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other channels. You can find also, just because I don't mean to sell to our listeners here, you can find a lot of my papers, my writing at ipsos.com, IPSOS.com. And here you can download tons of papers exactly on those themes we discussed today, not only around meaning, but advertising effectiveness and DTC and brand purpose and all those themes that I like to talk about. You can download those papers for free, and you don't even have to enter your email address. We're not even capturing your contact details or anything. So lots of free resources that you can access here.
Awesome.
Free ways to connect with me, at least.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I will make sure to have these hot links in the show notes. And I really appreciate your time coming on today.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.